introduction of our institute, Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli.
Thank you, Utkarsha. Thanks for giving opportunity to introduce our Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli. Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli is situated midway between Sangli and Miraj city at Vishrambagh, Sangli. The Walchand College of Engineering campus is located on about 90 acres of land on southern side of Sangli Miraj Road. Walchand College of Engineering Sangli is established in 1947. The college made a modest beginning as a new engineering college with single program leading to BE civil degree. In 1955, the college was renamed as Walchand College of Engineering as a part of new arrangement and ventures to rehabilitation and development program mainly funded by the Seth Walchand Hirachand Memorial Trust and the government. Walchand College of Engineering Institute became government-aided autonomous institute for the course of UG, PG, PhD programs in 2007. Now, in the Department of Civil Engineering, having a UG BTech in Civil Engineering, PG in PG, MTech Structural Engineering, MTech Environmental Engineering, and also a PhD program available. AICTE Doctorate Fellowship Program, Quality Improvement Program, also available in our institute. Our institute received uh, funded by various government, non-government organizations like a Department of Science and Technology, DRDO, CSIR, and various other funding agencies. Thank you for the giving me opportunity to introduce our project. Over to Utkarsha.
Now, I would like to invite Samriddhi Pawar to introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Mangesh Joshi, sir.
Thank you, Utkarsha. Good evening to all. Today's chief guest was Sanrachna, establishing company from scratch to the market, leader in highly specialized area of structural rehabilitation and retrofitting with all India operations. He is motivated and personable technical professional with multiple college degrees from prestigious institutes like IIT Bombay. He had completed his bachelorate from VJTI Mumbai and his post-graduation from SP College Mumbai. He has completed his PhD from IIT Bombay in mechanical performance of FRP strengthened RC elements. He had published 11 technical papers in leading national and international engineering journals. He had worked for more than 1200 number of different types of civil engineering structures across India for structural repair and retrofitting. He was the part of a team to carry out structural rehabilitation of earthquake damaged structures in 2000 in Bhuj earthquake, Gujarat. He is the member of various civil engineering societies like Indian Institute of Engineers, Institute of Structural Engineers, American Concrete Institutes, etc. Such an honorable person is our guest today. Without wasting much time, let's start with the session. Now I request Dr. Mangesh Joshi sir to begin with your session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thanks for giving me opportunity to present, and thanks especially to Chukodi Saab, Vadalkar Saab, and Shantilal Jain Saab to give the opportunity. Let me share my screen first. Oh, can you see now screen?
Yes, sir.
So let us train in structural repair and strengthening is the topic. I'll be talking for 45 minutes. So I've focused mainly on strengthening part, and we've been doing this work for last almost here. So we come across different situation as a practicing engineer. For example, this type of failure. This or this type of failure. Can you mute yourself like others? Hello? Yeah, please mute yourself. There's a lot of disturbances coming. Or with this type of damages, wherein this type of damages, wherein we can see this. You can in case of earthquake, or this type of damages for silos, or bad workmanship. You can say this and this, or structural failure, in this case scoring of foundation. So what comes to your mind when you say this, and why this incident happens, and what is common in all these photographs? Basically, if you see, one common thread in all these photographs is total negligence. Means we are not taking care of our, or we are not maintaining our infrastructure, or there might be some mistake in design. So there are different causes for this all type of failure. I'll go back. In this case, uh, the structure was not properly maintained and there was overloading, so nobody bothered that heavy vehicles are going on the bridge without checking the capacity. In this, you can see that there are no crosslinks here. Means normally, as per good earthquake detailing, there should have been stirrups here, but you can see there are no stirrups here. So naturally, it is failing at this location. And in this particular case, you can see the bad quality of concrete, extremely bad quality of concrete, coupled with design issues, and this led to this type of failure. Here you can see that again, bad supervision and bad quality control on part of concrete, leading to this type of failure. And here it is covering, so again, inadequate design. So what we are going to study here today is mainly why we need to, what is the need for repairs and retrofit. I'm skipping this two part, looking at the time. Durability I'm not considering because durability itself is a very elaborate subject. But we will discuss different strategies for repair and retrofit, most advanced updated strengthening techniques. And what I'll be talking mostly are the case studies, because then we'll be able to relate to the practical problem, that how things happen. So why we need to do the structure strengthening? So there are different reasons for that we need to do structure strengthening. First is change in use. Change in use might be for different reasons, mainly live load increase. Many a time you convert a residential building into a commercial building. By that there is an increase in live load, because for residential building it is 200 kg, and for residential commercial building is 400. Similarly, if you convert a mall to the hospital, there is a change in importance factor, and accordingly your forces changes. In case of industry, there is always a rearrangement of equipment. If you put some heavy equipment which are beyond the capacity, so this can be done. Seismic retrofit structures which are not designed for current seismic codes can be considered. Or blast upgrade means building which are subjected to, or which are which are posing threat for blast. So those building deterioration because of corrosion, loss of section, cracking. So almost corrosion is keeping us very busy, because especially India got a long coastline, and because of that you see a lot of corrosion, and whenever structure corrode, it loses its structural properties also, and because of that there are many stability related issues. Faulty construction means when I started this segment, I never thought that I may end up working in new structure, but because of peculiar situation in the market and lot of structures and lot of work are happening around, naturally more work happening, so mistakes are also equally happening. So mistakes sometimes, missing reinforcement, incorrect reinforcement detailing, low concrete strength, issues with concrete mix. Sometimes you specify M40 grade, but at site you get M20 only after the hardening, and you cannot demolition is not always possible there. So all this type of faulty construction and structural damages because of impact, excessive wear and fire. So all these situations demand for proper retrofit solution without hampering its usage. So I always say that designing new structure is very straightforward job. Means it's that way quite straightforward activity. You have a new construction, so you have a functional structural demand. Means function and structural demand are clearly specified. You know for what load it has to be designed. You can follow the code. Everything is greenfield. You can start with the scratch. So before actual starting construction, you can do a lot of engineering. You can spend a lot of time with architect. You do a lot of engineering. You can come with different economical option in terms of construction. And after doing this detailed planning, you go for construction. So it is very biased towards planning. But when it comes to retrofitting, you have some this existing demand, and from this existing demand, you have some new demand, and you have to achieve this process by process of strengthening. So from existing demand to new demand, so this process is strengthening. But it's not as simple as it looks because it's quite complex and it follows a very tedious path. Because once your structure is brownfield, there are services, and so we need to remove these services. We need to take shutdown. So a lot of issues are there. So what happens in case of retrofitting? You need to focus first on constructability. Like yesterday, I visited the plant, and he told me that if they keep the plant shut even for one day, it will cost them 3 crore per day. So even if I can save their one day of shutdown, I'm saving their 3 crore rupees. So we have to spend a lot of time on constructability, and as I said, that driven by time to repair. I mean, sometimes even your initial material cost is very high, but your shutdown cost is much higher than that. So then your basic material cost doesn't matter. So in this case, you have to spend first time at site. You have to see the different aspect, what are the limitation, and then it should be supported. Whatever you do is supported by your engineering. So typically, retrofitting I call is a process of reverse engineering. Means you start from site to your office desk. So I will, as I said, I am mainly focusing on structural strengthening. So here are the techniques, different techniques available currently in market. First is very popular and very old method, that is supplemental steel and steel plate bonding. Then external bonding FRP. Now I will not call it as a new method because I myself using it for last 20 years. So this method is in use for last almost 20 years. Then concrete section enlargement, again very old method of jacketing, what we call it jacketing, that in this you increase the area of cross section by putting additional steel and additional concrete thickness. And external post tensioning means whenever you might have seen many bridges where external ropes are provided to take care of this additional load. And then comes the hybrid solution. Hybrid solution means which is comprising of all this mix. So now in next slides, we will see what are these advantages, disadvantages, and mainly case studies, that what all we can do here. So if you see the percentage use as of now in the market, FRP contributes only almost 50%, and rest of the thing is contributing 50% of the solution. But again, solutions are driven by site condition and different parameters which you are thinking of. Again, there are different approaches in retrofitting. First approach is increasing of stiffness, wherein you will increase the cross-section area or will do the wrapping. And in second approach, you will provide this type of dampers, wherein you can do the you can reduce the exposure of forces on the element by uh, introducing dampers, so that your structure element is not subjected to higher forces. Here it is more of an active method, and here it is kind of a passive method where we are reducing the load on the element. Then there are different methods, like in this particular case, conventional methods, wherein you can increase the cross-section area by putting additional steel and then concreting, or in this case, you can do external post-tensioning for this type of shear track. But then we have our composite materials, and as I said, composite we ourselves are using for last 20 years, but it all started with defense industry, because all your fighter planes are made of carbon fiber, your missile shields are made of carbon fiber. Why in defense industry carbon fiber? Because these are non-metallic fiber. So being non-metallic, radar cannot detect it. So that helps. Again, it is very light and strong. So it reduces the weight of aircraft to a great extent. Then for sports good purpose, where you need light but strong type of materials. So all these materials started its uses in defense and sports industry. And as the market opened up and there was a huge supply of the material, they started using it in construction industry also. So like composite, where you best composite RCC, best composite civil engineer know is RCC, where you use steel and concrete in combination. So like this also, we have a combination. We have a fiber phase and we have a filler phase. In fiber, we got different types of fiber like carbon, glass, aramide, boron. And in resin, mainly thermoset resin. So if you mix this fiber with resin, it forms the composite. If you see the mechanical properties, it is very peculiar. In this case, you can see that on x-axis there is a strain, on y-axis there is a stress. So if you see the stress strain diagram of steel, it is a very bilinear. Means you can see it here, elastoplastic material steel, once it yields, it goes into this plastic zone. So it doesn't break at this point, it yields before it breaks. Unlike that, all these material are elastic, means it doesn't have plastic zone. Means you can see in this case of carbon, this breaking point and ending point is same. It doesn't have this longitudinal plateau like this. So at material level, these materials are better, but you can see its strength is much higher. Means I will show that in next slide. And one more property is its orthotropy. Whenever you design RCC element or steel element, you consider that element as isotropic homogeneous. What does it mean? That your properties are same in all x, y, z direction. But that is not the case with composite. It is a highly directional material. You can see that all fiber are oriented this direction is very strong in this direction and weak in other direction. So you have to be very careful at the time of its application, that in which direction you need to orient your fiber. So this is called unidirectional fiber, UD fiber. And these are available in different form in this type of cloth sheet. So where you have this completely cloth of say 500 mm wide and 100-meter long, and once you mix with this epoxy, it will form a composite. Or you have a ready-made ready-made profiles, means of fixed width and thickness, wherein you can wherein you can directly, these are the factory made laminates of fixed width and thickness, and you can paste this composite to like a steel plate. This is like a steel plate, so you can paste or bolt it to concrete. How we can strengthen the element? First, for flexural enhancement, you can put the fiber in vertical direction for column, and for shear you can wrap in with 0-degree orientation. And if we require both flexure and shear, we can wrap in both the direction. Similarly, for beam, you can wrap in this horizontal direction for flexure. For shear, you have to put main direction, fiber direction parallel to stirrups. So this is because your shear force is going to come in this direction. So in this vertical direction, and you have both issues with flexure and shear, you can wrap in both the direction. Similarly, for slab, one-way slab, you can wrap in one-way direction. If it is attracting some negative moment at top, you can wrap from top also. If it's two-way slab, you can wrap in both the direction, X and Y. So what are the advantages of this? First is no corrosion. Being a non-metallic material, this is not going to corrode. So whenever your structure is subjected to very high chemical exposure, this is going to be very helpful. Then higher ultimate strength, you have seen that is much stronger than conventional steel. high elastic modulus, good fatigue properties, low weight. Its density is 2.1 compared to steel 7.8 and concrete 25. So we are not putting additional load on already weak structure. No increasing cross section area available in rolls, so it can take complex shape, being a flexible, and the application is fast and clean. So if you see how it increases the strength for column, again on x-axis there is strain, on y-axis there is stress, and this is part of my PhD curve. I still am using it. This is a bare concrete failing at M30 grade, and I am wrapping it with say 0.4 mm thick glass wrap. You can see it here, and you can see increase in strength is almost 800 or 880 MPa. So with single wrap only, you can increase its strength almost 2.5 times. As you keep on increasing number of wraps, you can see your strength gain is increased. This is one wrap, this is two wraps, four wrap, and eight wraps. You can see there is a huge increase. Not only that, you see area under this curve here and area under this yellow curve. Area under yellow curve is much more than area under black curve, indicating energy dissipation capacity. So by confinement, you are introducing a lot of energy dissipation capacity also. Similarly, for beam, this is your regular RCC beam, and you want to increase bending capacity. So what you are doing, you are putting this type of laminate, 0.3 mm thick and 200 mm wide, and you are putting it below the beam, and you can see increasing it bending strength. Then a lot of times I'm being asked that what are the different codes you are using for designing this. So these are different codes which are available. Mainly ACI 440 is the most popular code, and second is CBI query. We are mainly using this ACI 440 for designing the code. If you are interested in studying it further, you can refer these codes. Then I will come to case studies. This is my first, almost one of the first work, and you can see these are the circular column, and client wanted to create strong room over this. And this building was constructed in 1942. It was a heritage building, so they cannot demolish and reconstruct this. So whatever additional capacity we needed for this, we wrapped this column, and we increased the capacity of this column. You can see that this work was done in 2003. So still this work is very much referred and used. Then this is a podium slab, wherein they changed the use of this structure. It was a residential building, so ground floor they converted as a parking lot. Even first floor also they converted as a parking lot, because they got some additional FSI and they put additional building, additional floor at top. So this slab, which was designed only for residential loads, initially has to be strengthened for vehicular load. So you can see that we have strengthened this. It's a two-way slab, so we wrap in the both way, and then we wrap in shear zone as well as in flexure zone. Then this is a case study of IFCO Kandla. In 2001, this is one of the first, almost 20 years back, this is the first application, major application in India, wherein there was a huge earthquake in Gujarat, 2001, precisely 26 January 2001, means almost 20 years back. And this type of damages were there. This is shear damages. Then this is you can see that this is a typical blast price failure because of non-confinement. This is a typical soft story. I mean, this was a ground floor column, and as it was not laterally resistant, it got sheared off in this manner. And it was a fertilizer plant, so phosphoric acid spillage was very common. And again, this plant was not insured for loss of production. It was insured for earthquake damages, but it was not insured for loss of production. So they wanted to start the production as early as possible. So there we use this glass and carbon fiber wrap to the great extent. You can see all this material, mainly at joints, was wrapped using composite materials. Then this is a case study of cold storage. and you can see this failure. This bar are completely bulged, and but at the same time you see the beauty of ductility of steel. That's what I'm talking. Though it has deformed a lot, it has not cut. It has not got cut. So it's quite stable and very much there. So this was the case. RCC cold storage structure located in Navi Mumbai. Intermediate floors were designed for higher load because it was mainly used as a storage building, 1500 kg per square meter. But top Torres was designed only for 400 kg per square meter. And what happened during the rain? Whatever material lying in the compound was kept on terrace and was covered with tarpaulin. But in the process, they missed the fact that they had loaded almost 1000 kg per square meter, and this frame, this floor was not designed for that type of load. So you can see these beams are cracking, these columns are failing, and because of this overloading, this failure happened. So this was a solution. Structure was immediately supported by putting additional props. Load on terrace was removed. Additional steel bar were provided. Grouting of low viscosity epoxy was carried out. Corroded steel was treated with protective coating. Section were jacketed using micro concrete, and all columns were wrapped with 3 layers of carbon fiber wrap. So entire job was completed in 15 days. Then this is a case study of a chimney. You cannot make it out by naked eyes. So this is a chimney, almost 29 meter outer diameter, and elevation was 60 meter. Sorry, 2.9 meter diameter, and height was 60 meter. The contractor which was doing this work was using slip formwork for the first time. So while casting only, there was 273 mm sway in this direction. It was a bit sway. So it was not exactly vertical. It was casted as an inclined only. But because of that eccentricity, for modeling, we need to first find out the eccentricity in all quarter. So we carried out total station survey, and through total station survey, we found out the eccentricity in all the quadrant. And based on that, then we model it with FEM with that eccentricity, because otherwise this chimney would have been a simple axisymmetric problem. But this inclination made it a bit complex. So with this inclined nature, and after putting wind load on it, we found out what are the additional stresses which are coming at the base, and we found out what is the additional tension which is coming at base because of this eccentricity. And then we provided this type of carbon laminates at bottom and this helical wrap, and then at bottom again we wrapped with 0-degree orientation. So these are the photographs you can see. This is the entire chimney. So up to bottom we provided carbon laminate followed by wrapping, and at top we provided this helical wraps. Then again there is a case study of silo, RCC silo, which I discussed in the beginning also. So this was a cold storage silo for sale, and suddenly after putting it to use within a 3 week there was this collapse. Okay, and everybody was worried then because it was a new structure, and still then this underwent this type of failure. And it was quite severe failure. You can see that from inside also there are through and through cracks. And if you see this silo, there was a cluster of silo. Means there are bundle of 4 silos together, multi-cell silo we call it. So all out of these 4 silos, this silo was showing distressed. So what are the primary reasons for failure? First and prime most is a handling issue with multiple cell slip formwork. For the first time, they used slip formwork for this multi-cell. Means this was the entire formwork was casted in one go in stages. So they used to cast concrete from here, fill this, go here, fill this, come here, and then start pushing it up. But during the process, they could not control the initial setting time of the concrete. So at few locations, concrete used to get settled, and at few locations, concrete used to remain unset. And when you try to push this unset concrete, it used to create a lot of problem. And then bad quality of concrete, because they optimize design so much that the silo thickness was hardly 200 mm. So in that congestion, going concrete has to be really fluid, but they could not maintain that type of flow of the concrete, and that created a lot of honeycombing in the concrete. So first thing was supporting, because everybody was so much worried that they really worried that how we will support this silo. But I could find this type of stanchion which were lying in the yard there, being a steel plant. So initially we supported this failure by providing this type of supports. Then this was the arrangement. You can see this was the friction pile, over the pile cap, and over that there is the silo wall, and this is the hopper. So this was the arrangement. And this was the retrofitting arrangement then. So what we did first, that we relieved entire load of this conical shell by introducing steel frame. So this inside we introduced this steel frame, and which relieved the load completely. Externally, we provided the RCC jacketing, and from top we did FRP wrapping. Means here, if you see, we did jacketing, and then from top we did FRP wrapping. Now you'll ask me that I could have easily jacketed the above portions also. Okay, but because of that additional jacketing, there would have been extra dead load, and my friction piles were failing for that extra load. So I cannot increase the load. So to control the dead weight, I use FRP wrapping at top. Anyway, stresses were less at top, so I use this approach, and that's how it was finished. Then, so this is the project summary. Hybrid approach is successfully followed to restore silo. All three methods, you can see here that you cannot fix on one particular method, or you cannot say that this method is good, that method is bad. Whole thing is depend on the what the problem you are at hand. So we use all three method here. We use structural steel, we use RCC jacketing, and we use FRP wrapping also, which was required for the problem. And entire work was completed in 90 days. And yesterday only I got call that rest of the three silos also now showing the sign of cracking. So we may have to repair those three silos also. So structure is brought back to service successfully. Now this is a case study of bridge. If anybody from Mumbai, you can understand this was a very important bridge, Versova Creek Bridge. Whenever you go from Mumbai to Gujarat, you have to cross it near Fountain Hotel. And this was a quite huge bridge. Its span was 140 meter. At the end, height is 6 meter. At free end, it is 1.5 meter. Continued construction. And it's connect these two major states, Gujarat and Maharashtra. It's the only link. I mean, is the only link. And because of cracks in this bridge, heavy traffic was not allowed, and because of that, huge traffic snarls were there, and it was in use for wrong reasons. So there used to huge traffic jam in this particular bridge. So as this was the condition, means these were the cracking here, and then we decided that we have to introduce compression here, because it is failing exactly at this location because of tension. As you can see that those were huge tension cracks there, and that's why it was decided to do external post tensioning by introducing this type of external pre-stressing tendons. So this was the arrangement of tendons. You can see 1, 2, 3, 3 tendons on both the sides were introduced. And this was the detailing. This was the shell wall. So you can see this, it's going inside and out both. So these are the details of tendons. But what was the problem when we were doing post tensioning here? Concrete at these locations was very bad. Means we call it anchorage location, and normally at anchorage location, your stresses are maximum. So at this particular anchoring location, it was getting failed. So concrete is failing under additional stress while pre-stressing. So we need to strengthen those area locally to take care of these additional stresses. For that, we use carbon fiber wrap. So you introduce this type of carbon fiber wrapping like this, inside, outside, and at bottom, in spite of this external post tensioning under live load, it was showing additional tension. For that, we have to put carbon laminates also. So we cannot put formwork here. So we have to erect this type of gantry to facilitate the work. So inside also we have to repair the section. So, inside we did epoxy mortars, and these are the jacking locations. So before actual jacking, we introduce this type of carbon fiber wrapping in X and Y direction. This manner, entire wrapping. And then for bottom we have to provide carbon laminates. So for that we prepare the surface, and they provided this type of carbon fiber laminates. And then once this laminate are applied, we did this external pre-stressing. These are the end anchorages, and these are the pre-stressing. So these are the final retrofitting scheme over this creek. So these are the anchor block, these are the deviators, and these are the deviators. So this is the final bridge after strengthening. So this bridge is also, actual job was finished in 15 days only. Everything was planned properly, and actual job was finished in 15 days. So this was the last case study. So I'll just summarize my work. So repair and retrofitting process is the reverse process of reverse engineering. As I told you that we have to do a lot of site investigation before we actually go into site. Selection of retrofitting scheme will depend on site condition and time, cost, and budget. Different international design guidelines are available, as I told you, and mm, uh, and then CPWD handbook is also available. CPWD handbook is also available, so you can refer, as a student you can refer this to learn this. And you can refer further more material. These are reference material available, so you can refer this material for additional study. So thanks for your patience, and I think there must be a lot of conferences and webinars going on, but still you are making time. So thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your immense technical knowledge and experience. Your session was fully informative and motivative. You have shared the various methods like structural steel, RCC jacketing, FRP wrapping, and with the practical case studies like column retrofitting, chimney retrofitting, silos, and you have also explained the case study of Warsaw Creek Bridge. So it helped us to understand retrofitting practically. Today, we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts and experiences, and this will help surely going to encourage us in our future. Now, let's begin with question answer session. I would request all participants, if they have any questions, please unmute your mic and clear your doubts.
Utkarsha, shall I speak for 2 minutes?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I thank Dr. Mangesh Joshi Friends, he was not well in the last week. In spite of his busy schedule and his health, he could manage 1 week later. So I extend a warm thanks to him for his presentation. And he knows we had been associated for last almost 15, 16 years when we had done some strengthening work of one hospital. And I am today I'm very happy that still it is behaving very well. Whatever we have done the strengthening work, maybe traditional jacketing or this composite fiber wrapping, so it is behaving very well. So I thank again Dr. Mangesh Joshi for this nice presentation. You can ask your questions and answers if students have any questions.
Hello. Sir, my name is Rahul. I have one question regarding the seismic retrofitting. Sir, is there any criteria to enlarge the masses to certain limitations so that mass will not be increased in a such a way that it will take part in seismic action? Means while we are strengthening and retrofitting, we are enlarging the sections and we are providing steel plates and all. It will increase the mass of that frame structure. Is there any limitation that is 10 to 15% of mass we can increase up to that, like that?
No, we cannot generalize like that. It's again depend on geometry of building and what structure you are at hand. So it will be finally depend on your final mode shape. Means this how this mass will participate in that mode shape will depend on many other factors. So you cannot generalize it.
Okay, sir. Codal provisions cannot suggest that up to that you can prefer. Means any comparisons are there so that I can prefer the enlarging section or I can go for the carbon fiber retrofitting techniques as an engineer.
Unfortunately, retrofitting codes are very open-ended. You can means it is good also because they have given a lot of liberty to you to choose. Means ultimately you carry out the dynamic analysis and then you select which method suits you best by changing properties and geometries of the section.
Okay, sir. And again, I have one question that you have shown the orientation of that wrapping of that band, like for shear and for the flexure. Similarly, for the torsion, can we go for the helical arrangement or like that?
Yeah, ultimately torsion will lead to shear cracks only. So you have to tackle that shear which is getting introduced because of torsion.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, what we can prefer for the historical structures retrofitting, sir?
Please repeat.
Sir, for the historical monumental structures are there. They are might be of masonry or stone, rubble masonry structures. Can we use this technique to that structures too?
Actually, we cannot again generalize because depending on the grade of heritage structure, in heritage structure to maintain its originality is more important. So normally they go for more of a light mortar and all. You can use material where it will not disturb the aesthetics, but definitely not at elevation. You cannot use this at the elevation. But for backing, yes, for backing and where it can be will not be visible, you need to work smartly there so that the reinforcement will not be seen from outside.
Sir, can you do the retrofitting of the foundation of a structure, especially which are resting into the water?
Again, for retrofitting of foundation, this carbon fiber and other cannot be used. But conventionally, yes, you can increase the bearing area and you can jacket it. So conventionally, you can do that.
But that area is not exposed, na? Foundation, it is below the ground level.
But then you need to excavate. So that's why I said that normally in my career, I'm doing so many retrofitting. I normally found that foundation have more safety margins, bearing capacity of soil. So you can retrofit superstructure based on the confirmation that your foundation can take this extra load. Okay, and if your foundation in one case, like in one case of data center, there was increase in huge load, so foundation also were failing. So we need to then dug out the foundation and then increase the size put the extra reinforcement, all that thing exercise we had to do.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, sir. You have said that the energy dissipation is increased while we use that carbon fiber. So can we use for the machine foundations? We can wrap it as a doing confining that foundation. So
Yeah, it
it
should
will.
help. Yeah, I haven't carried out the study, but we can see the vibration with this additional ductility, how much your vibration can be controlled. Normally, inertia matters there, so this may not help a lot because if you increase the size, inertia will go up, and then you can control vibration in a better way.
If anyone has questions, please ask.
Hello.
Hello.
Sir, I have one question. Is there difference in strategy for strengthening against failure, fear, or axial?
Your voice is not clear. I think some disturbance is coming. Can you
Sir,
other
there is a
can others
disturbance.
mute
in-
themselves? Now ask.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Yeah, sir. I want to ask, sir, is any difference in strategy for strengthening against flexure, shear, or axial?
No, strategy means strategy remains more or same means all these, as I said, all these 3-4 options are there. So depending on time at hand, you can select. Means many times you cannot do jacketing of beams, but then you lose on headroom. So there FRP is preferred if it is possible. But sometimes column cannot be accommodated just by wrapping. That stiffness is not always sufficient. So we have to do jacketing. So it actually varies case to case. We cannot generalize anything in retrofit. Every problem is
Okay,
unique.
sir. Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Sir, for structure earlier, what kind of structural audit methodology or condition assessment is done for various structure? Examples such as buildings and in case of bridges.
Both, fortunately for both, there are codes available. For building, I can say that there is a Proforma B which is generated by BMC Mumbai. That is a very good document. It is available on BMC website. If you refer that, it covers everything. Means all minor observation. And for bridges, we have a I don't remember code in handy, but there is a standard code, and it clearly depicts the all the points of the bridges we should consider while doing audit of bridges.
Sir, in one of the projects of bridge rehabilitation, there were and a few days there was analysis been run in which the when the actual train was coming, the by sensor they by using sensor the bridge was being analyzed for certain period of time. Sir, such work was done by you. Such analysis was carried out in this bridge also, sir.
No, we can full scale deflection only.
Hello.
Yeah.
Is there any question to participants?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your answers. Now I would like to invite Rahul for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Utkarsha. Good evening, everyone. I am Rahul, and I am here to present the vote of thanks for today's guest lecture. I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Mangesh Joshi, for sharing time and sharing valuable experience about recent trends in repairs and retrofit of RCC structure. Sir have explained the various retrofit techniques is worth information to us. Definitely, this information is very useful for the students who are doing project in retrofitting techniques. Also, I would like to thank ISSC office bearers, and especially thanks to Engineer Shantilal Jain sir, President of ISSC, Engineer Hemant Vadalkar sir, Honorable Secretary of ISSC, Engineer Madhav Chikkodi sir, Member of Technical Committee, ISSC Student Chapter, for organizing such an informative lecture by the great speaker. Also, I would like to thank our HO, Dr. S.N. Tande sir, Dr. V.S. Patil sir, and all the faculty to become a part of this seminar. And special thanks to students and ISSC for listening and taking part in this. I appeal to take my all contributed for the success of this seminar. With permission of chair, I officially declare the end of program. Thank you and thank you.
Thanks.